Okay, so the news is out, and it's big. Really big. It feels like it's sent shockwaves through, well, the whole world of motorcycle racing, hasn't it?
Absolutely.
After years, literally years of rumors, speculation, Toprak Razgatlıoğlu, double world superbike champ, he's finally making the jump to MotoGP.
Yeah, it's a move a lot of people thought might just never materialize.
Exactly. So in this deep dive, we're going to unpack all of this, why it's such a huge deal. We'll get into what makes him so incredibly special as a rider, look at the surprising details of this new deal he's signed, analyze the sort of ripple effects across the rider market, which are already happening,
Oh, yeah.
and discuss, what are his actual chances in MotoGP, plus what kind of hole does this leave in World Superbikes. There's just so much to talk about, loads of excitement, but also, I think, quite a few questions.
It's a fascinating development, no doubt. And yeah, the traditional route, it's always been seen as Moto3, then Moto2, straight into MotoGP. That's the pipeline. Toprak's move, though, it really highlights this other path, this alternative way to the top, which seems to be gaining, well, significance.
Okay, let's start there then. For anyone listening who maybe doesn't follow World Superbikes quite as closely, let's unpack it. What is so special about Toprak Razgatlıoğlu? His name's been buzzing around for ages, especially with those MotoGP links in the past.
He is, well, he's quite simply a phenomenon. He burst onto the World Superbike scene in 2019 and just climbed to superstar status incredibly quickly. And his record, I mean, it speaks for itself. Won a world title with Yamaha, quite something after switching from Kawasaki. Then he moves from Yamaha to BMW, again, under circumstances that were, let's just say, a bit tense.
Right, slightly acrimonious is a good word.
Yeah, exactly. And he delivers another world title for BMW. What really catches the eye, of course, is that famous hard-braking style. You hear team managers, rivals, they all just marvel at the brake pressure he can generate and, crucially, control.
It's legendary, isn't it?
It really is. But, that spectacular style, it's almost secondary. The primary things are his pure, undeniable results. And the showmanship he brings. He comes from a family of stunt riders, and you can kind of see that flair.
Ah, okay.
He was part of that WSBK Big Three for a while with Bautista and Rea. But as they, the veterans start to decline a bit, he really just eclipsed them. And his 2024 season with BMW, utterly dominant. He didn't just ride the bike, he essentially transformed a mid-pack program into a genuine frontrunner.
Okay, they had the super concessions, the extra testing and development rights.
True, that definitely helped BMW. But his contribution was massive, absolutely massive. You can't forget, he's a huge sporting hero back in Turkey, this move. It could seriously boost the chances of seeing MotoGP return to Istanbul Park. That'd be fantastic.
So he's more than just fast. He's a team builder, a catalyst almost. That's pretty rare. Now, the deal itself, this is where it gets really interesting for me. He always seems so insistent on a factory seat. Why now? Why a satellite Yamaha team, specifically Pramac? What changed?
That is the real curveball, isn't it?
Yeah.
He and his manager, Kenan Sofuoglu, they were famous for holding out. Factory team or nothing seemed to be the message.
Yeah.
But, top athletes, they have to be pragmatists, or at least they should be. And the whole landscape of satellite teams in MotoGP, it's completely changed. They're not the sort of second-tier operations they maybe once were. Many get equal spec bikes now.
Right.
And quite a few riders and satellite teams are actually on direct factory contracts anyway. Look at Pramac themselves at Ducati Satellite winning the title with Jorge Martin. That shows what's possible.
Good point.
So for Toprak, he'll be 29 when the 2026 season starts. It really felt like it was now or never for a proper MotoGP shot. And this Pramac Yamaha offer, it was simply the best immediate option on the table.
And the history with Yamaha. Those tests back in 2022 didn't exactly go swimmingly, did they? Or at least that was the perception.
Yeah, they were perceived quite negatively. But the friction, it seems, was maybe less about Yamaha as a whole and more about the previous team boss, Lynn Jarvis. He didn't exactly seem like Toprak's biggest fan. The new managing director, Paolo Pavezio, he actually worked with Toprak back in World Superbikes. He was apparently vital in getting this deal done.
Ah, that connection makes sense.
Definitely. And Pavezio confirmed it's a fixed 2-year deal, 2026 and 2027. He basically said about those earlier tests, it just wasn't the right moment. Toprak wasn't as motivated for it then as he is now, and Yamaha perhaps wasn't as ready as they are now either. So it's a better time for everyone involved.
Okay. And when does he actually get to ride the bike?
Well, the logical time is the usual postseason test at Valencia in November. That's tradition. But there's a good chance BMW might play hardball. Sort of return the favor, you could say.
Yeah.
Yamaha wasn't exactly helpful when Toprak left them for BMW at the end of 2023, preventing early testing. So BMW might just do the same.
Ouch. That would be a serious loss of track time, wouldn't it? Especially for a rookie adapting to a new class.
Hugely costly loss in mileage, yeah. Critical time.
It really underlines that pragmatic view, though, and maybe a shift in MotoGP power if a reigning world champ sees a top satellite seat as a genuine route. So, okay, the deal's done. What does this mean for everyone else? The rider market dominoes. I heard some wild Honda rumors, too.
Yeah, the Honda thing was interesting. There was definitely talk, maybe more than just rumors, of a big money offer. But the structure was weird. 1 year in Honda's World Superbike team in 2026, then a move to MotoGP in 2027. It didn't happen, obviously. And you suspect it might have been more about maybe internal politics or strategy within Honda's Superbike project than a concrete MotoGP plan for him at that point. Right now, Honda, in MotoGP, their focus seems pretty squarely on Jorge Martin. They really only have one likely seat opening up. Luca Marini's contract is up. And you'd think Martin, even after winning on a satellite Ducati, would probably prefer a factory Honda ride over going back to Pramac, even if Pramac switched to Yamaha.
Makes sense. So who gets bumped at Pramac Yamaha to make space for Toprak, MILR, or Oliveira?
Well, looking at it now, Miguel Oliveira seems, well, far more vulnerable than Jack Miller. Oliveira's contract apparently has some kind of performance clause, something like if he's the lowest placed Yamaha rider mid-season, they could potentially release him.
And where is he now?
He's had a tough year. Injuries haven't helped.
Yeah.
He's way down, 23rd, just 2 points, so
yeah,
not exactly firm ground there. Jack Miller, on the other hand, okay, it's only a one-year deal he signed, but he looked pretty good in preseason, started the year strong. And honestly, his performances since, while maybe not spectacular, have probably warranted an extension. He's consistently been the second best Yamaha behind Quartararo.
Okay. What about Rins? Quartararo's teammate in the factory team.
Alex Rins. Yeah, he just hasn't seemed to find his old spark since that really bad leg injury in 2023. But his contract runs through 2026. Yamaha almost certainly won't break that. Very little chance of that happening.
So if Oliveira is out at Pramac, where does he go? Is that it for him in MotoGP?
It probably does mean out of MotoGP, yeah. A return to Aprilia seems, well, very unlikely to appeal to him, I'd imagine, given how that ended.
Wow, the musical chairs are always brutal, aren't they? So, okay, the biggest question maybe, all these moves, the hype. Can Toprak actually succeed in MotoGP? That riding style is so unique, so WSBK-focused almost. How does that translate?
Yeah, we definitely need to manage expectations, especially for 2026. I know some people in the World Superbike paddock rate him so highly, they think he could maybe even win on his debut.
Really?
Yeah, but that's not realistic, I don't think. He has to see next year primarily as a learning year. He's got zero race experience on these top-level prototype bikes.
And they're different beasts entirely.
Completely. Much stiffer, much less forgiving than the production bikes he's used to. And that spectacular style, very front-end biased, loading the front tire, it just won't work as well with the current MotoGP Michelins. They need a different approach.
But he is adaptable, right? You mentioned the different bikes in WSBK.
That's his huge strength. Incredible adaptability. He's made 3 very different machines work for him in World Superbikes. And his success on the BMW, it wasn't just about that aggressive finger braking. His use of engine braking, which is a really technical skill, was masterful. That shows a deeper understanding.
Right.
And he himself said it, famously. We do this not because it is easy, but because it is hard. He knows the challenge.
So what does success look like in 2026 then?
Honestly, just making it into Q2 semi-regular, maybe showing flashes of potential, that would probably be a successful debut season. Building blocks. Because really, you have to look longer term. It's all about the big rule changes coming in 2027.
Ah, the new regs and the tires.
Exactly. The switch to Pirelli tires in 2027, Toprak creates absolute magic on Pirellis and superbikes.
Yeah.
That's the big reset. That's surely the real target year.
Okay, that makes sense.
Look, he won't completely rewrite the MotoGP rulebook overnight.
Yeah.
But he is definitely not going there just to make up the numbers. His personality, his riding style, his racing intelligence, it's all top tier. Personally, I wouldn't bet against him figuring it out.
That's a strong endorsement. Okay, let's flip the coin. What about the series he's leaving behind? What does this mean for the World Superbike Championship, losing a star like that? It's got to hurt, right?
Oh, it leaves a big void. Absolutely. Look, WSBK is obviously thrilled, proud even, to see their guy taking on the MotoGP elite. But a rider with his talent, his profile, he was such a massive part of their narrative, their appeal in recent years. It's a definite loss.
And it could be a double whammy, couldn't it? With Balega potentially following him.
Exactly. Nicolo Balega, likely his main title rival this year, he's also probably heading to MotoGP soon. His new Ducati contract includes MotoGP testing duties in 2026.
Yeah.
That almost certainly lines him up for a race seat in 2027.
Wow.
You know, the WSBK series has really thrived on that storyline.
Yeah.
Stars developed in their own paddock, their own support classes, taking on the guys coming from MotoGP. But if you take Toprak and Balega out of, say, the 2025 standings, look who's left near the front. It's mostly former MotoGP riders, isn't it?
Yeah. Petrucci, Bautista still, Sam Lowe's is there now, Vierge, Iannone, and Lecona.
Right. The next true graduate of the production racing ladder, someone who came up through their system, is Axel Bassani, and he's like 10th.
So does this open doors for MotoGP riders coming to Superbikes?
Well, it means there are definitely going to be some very good, very lucrative seats up for grabs. BMW, Ducati, maybe Honda. But right now, you don't see huge interest from current MotoGP riders wanting to switch. Think about Jack Miller, Johan Zarco. They've really stuck to the MotoGP path quite stubbornly. Although someone like Miguel Oliveira, if he does lose his MotoGP ride, Superbikes could actually be a fantastic career move for him, a chance to reset, maybe win races again.
It's interesting how perceptions shift. Toprak was kind of the perfect answer to that lazy argument you sometimes hear.
Yeah, the perception that WSBK is just where MotoGP riders go when they're past their best or maybe weren't quite good enough for the top class.
Right.
Toprak was a potent weapon against that idea, a homegrown talent beating everyone. But it's crucial to remember, production racing is still producing top talent. Look at Manuel Gonzalez.
Oh, yeah, the Moto2 leader currently.
It's exactly. 2019 Supersport 300 World Champion, just tested a Trackhouse Aprilia MotoGP bike. The pipeline is still there. And historically, let's not forget, plenty of legends came to MotoGP via production or superbike routes. Morbidelli started in STK 600, Petrucci in STK 1000. Then you've got Cal Crutchlow from WSBK, Troy Bayliss, double superbike champ, Mick Doohan from Australian Superbikes, Mickey Hayden from AMA, Ben Spies from AMA, and WSBK. The list goes on.
That's a really important perspective. It's not a one-way street, and it never really has been. What an incredible legacy Toprak leaves in World Superbikes then, and what a massively exciting, hugely challenging chapter he's about to start in MotoGP. It really feels like a landmark move, one that's going to have ripples for years across both championships. The hurdles are immense, no doubt, but so are his talent and that proven adaptability.
Absolutely. MotoGP gets a genuine superstar, and his unique talent, plus that 2-year deal. It really makes 2027, with the new rules and tires, the year to watch. His premier class story is really just beginning.
So, as you think about ToprakRazgatlıoğlu's amazing journey, maybe consider his path alongside all those other names, those historical examples of riders succeeding from production-based racing. What does it really tell us about the future of rider development? Does it maybe suggest that the traditional Moto3, Moto2 pipeline isn't the only way anymore? And how might that reshape where the next generation of champions comes from in this sport? Something to think about.